Hello and welcome to UC Today. I'm Tom Wright, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Tony from Plivo. How's it going, Tony? Good to see you again.
Hello there. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And we're going to be talking about stir shaken today. And I think a great place to start would be for you to explain to us and our audience, what it is and what the implications are for customers.
Sure. So, Stir Shaken is a framework of standards, procedures, protocols that were implemented by the FCC in the United States to reduce the abundance of spam phone calls, to reduce the rise in the telephone-based fraud. So the FCC is the Federal Communications Commission. It's a federal U.S. government agency that regulates basically communications across the United States. So the problem they're trying to address with Stir Shaken is the U.S. consumer has lost confidence in phone calls. They're fed up with robocalls. They're fed up with caller ID spoofing, and they're fed up with basically fraudulent activity in general. So something really needed to be done to restore that confidence, that consumer confidence in answering their phone calls again. As you can imagine, if you're a legitimate business trying to make legitimate use of your voice your voice messaging, your voice calls, and your potential customers are too wary to answer their phone calls, that's not a great form of communication. So with Stir Shaken, the service providers are going to set one of three levels of basically like this caller ID attestation. So this represents the relationship between the number and that service provider, and it's A, B, and C. Think of A as the best attestation. This means that the provider can verify that this is an authenticated number, the party using it is authenticated, everything is good to go, this is not spam, this is a totally legit call. Now B is partial attestation. That means the provider says this is an authenticated number, but we're not really sure if the party using this number is really supposed to be using this number or is authenticated, right? So there's some doubt there, and that's a B, partial attestation. And C is not an authenticated call. Now this could be spam, but this also could be a call coming from an international gateway. We're just not sure. All we know is it's not authenticated, and we just can't say a lot about it besides it could be spam. And so what happens is the call originates, that service provider attaches sets the attestation level, and it gets authenticated. Then the delivering service provider verifies as well. So, and what this does is when there's an A attestation, it's a legit call. It can go through with no problem. If it's not, then we know it could likely be spam. And that is Stir Shaken in a nutshell.
Okay, so we can see where the businesses want to get to. They probably want to get to that A rating. What kind of challenges do they face, though, along this stir shaken journey?
So businesses need to make sure they are working with carriers and CPaaS companies that understand the regulations. I think that's the biggest hurdle is working with experienced companies, working with companies that have experience in implementing support, understanding the regulations. It's important, right? If you're a legitimate business with legitimate numbers, legitimate calls, you should have the A attestation rating, right? To make your voice calls. You don't want your legitimate calls getting flagged as likely spam. You don't want your calls getting hung up in a queue or your calls just being ignored by the recipients. And to keep this from happening, it's working with the experienced, providers, experienced companies. You can't cut corners when it comes to your calls, right? When it comes to deliverability, undelivered calls are lost customers or lost revenue. And there's actually, the FCC has already cut off a provider for not doing enough to stop robocalls. So, it's serious. It's going to get escalated. It's going to get even worse. So it's so important you partner with, like a CPaaS company that truly understands the regulations and understands what it takes to get your calls delivered.
Yeah, okay, that example, it sounds like, this could be quite scary. You dare say as a business, you feel like you're jumping over lots of hoops or jumping through lots of hoops, but there are benefits that come with this, aren't there? Can you talk through what the businesses will see when they are compliant and hopefully getting that A attestation?
Yeah, absolutely. The benefits are outstanding. Restoring customer confidence in phone calls opens up, brings back a huge channel of communication. So a channel that reaches millions of customers in the US every year. But it's basically been the poster child of fraud and spam. And so, right next to email. And so, it's just opening up that huge communication channel again. And Stir Shaken, the attestation tool, is a key component to reclaiming lost revenue, reclaiming lost customers, promoting a better customer experience. Consumers should be able to answer their phone knowing 100% that caller ID is actually the person on the on who's making the call. And so, by restoring this huge communication channel, that's just a huge benefit. And and reaching the customers that prefer to be called. There's still customers that like that voice connection, that prefer voice, say over text, and to be able to reestablish that is just a huge benefit to everybody, to consumers and to businesses alike.
Okay, great. I've just got a couple more questions for you. The first one, let's focus a bit more on that top tier, that A attestation. What do businesses have to do to consistently kind of hit that height?
So the key is businesses have to share their know your customer information with their provider. And that means making sure that the provider has all your information, including copies of your business registration information. So the next step is, then once you're verified, you get the A attestation, it's to make sure you keep it, right? Make sure that you're following the rules. Make sure you're using the legitimate numbers for legitimate business reasons. But it's making sure really the provider understands you and knows that, hey, I'm a legitimate business. I'm trying to reach my customers, and we're doing everything by the books. And so, that highlights the importance of working with companies that understand the regulations as well. So that way the companies, the CPaaS companies can say, okay, the providers can say, I know this is legitimate business. They're doing legitimate calls. These should be going through.
Okay, and I think maybe it'd be nice just to wrap all this up. Can you talk through what Plivo are doing to help businesses with Stir Shaken?
Sure. So our main goal is to keep our customers connected to our premium communication network. That's huge. So we work closely with our carriers to make sure our customers are compliant and to make sure our customers' customers are compliant. We don't, right? Like, we see what the FCC is doing to providers that don't follow the rules, or that aren't, they don't take the time to, kind of crack down on their customers. So we're working with our customers, we're working with our carriers, and we identify those customers that you know that need to be compliant. So we can identify, this customer's not compliant, this customer's compliant. We can work with them, make sure they understand the rules. That way they have a successful voice messaging plan. So education to our customers, keeping up with the regulations, that's really like our advantage. We keep so close in touch with both that we're going to be there to make sure our customers understand the regulations and stay compliant, and that we are not, on the FCC's naughty list, so to speak, right?
Okay, Tony, I think that's a great place to leave things. Perhaps we can catch up in a few months and see if you've got any more horror stories. Hopefully not, but you never know. It sounds like this could catch a few businesses out. But thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Always appreciate being here.
And thank you everyone for watching. We hope you enjoyed this session. If you did, please give us a like and a share on social media, and we'll see you next time.